Sorry about the delay. I was literally in morning meeting and somebody said, it's 6 o'clock. And I said, that's all right, I've got till 7. And they said, why, you're not on social media this morning? I was like, oh, for goodness sake. How did I forget? Crazy. So, who do I think I am? Well, this was something that I began talking about yesterday. And it's essentially, I started talking about my identity, but I began doing a really deep dive this week, last week, on who I thought I was, because I've been looking at all sorts of conditions. I'm training as a social worker, so let's start again. I'm Mandy Jane, and I am a coach, but my background is education. I was a SEND special educational needs, psychotherapy, and now I am further training as a social worker. But I run Accessibility Partners, and I founded Inclusion. Now, I'm not sure everybody is this morning. Please share the space out. We are on social media, and there are people there. If you are on social media, please post a comment. If you are here live, please put a 1 in the chat. We've got a delay on social media. I can actually see me delayed on this video, but put a 1 in the chat if you're here now. Sorry if it's delayed and you're not getting this, and a 2 if you are here later, because that's the way I will know whether you are watching this now or whether you're watching this later. I hope you can hear me. So yeah, I'm Mandy Jane, and I've been doing a deep dive on the way that we're made, because I'm looking at different genetic conditions and the results of different occurrences like stroke and aphasia and all sorts of things are being part of my training right now. And it got me to think about who and what and how I am, how I arrived, and what really got me to be, well, this activist, this future focused, looking into 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050. Those eras were mine. Even in the 80s, I was looking at being what it would be like to be 130, how a 130-year-old would look. When I was studying the Bible, I was baptized by full immersion when I was 15. By choice, I was seeking some resolve to my traumatic experience as a child. I was baptized by full immersion, and in the Bible it said Sarah was 130 years old. And I thought, how would it be to be 130 years old? And in that 130 years old, like, how would I be acting? So I was imagineering how I was going to be at 130 years old, well, way before the 80s. And the story I told on Saturday morning was a story of my early years in school. I went to school for 3 years, and it was a private school. My mum was the teacher, and my brother went to, and it was only 100 kids, I think. It was a terraced house, a big terraced house. Don't get me wrong, one of the biggest terraced houses you've probably ever seen, on a steep hill on the way to Rotherham town centre, set back. And behind it, even though it was terraced, were massive fields, and we had annexes. So this was obviously a wealthy person's house, probably somebody of gentry proportions, in the 1800s. And this was a school, so you can imagine already the things that came with it: the leaking pipes and the clunks and the noises and the big doors and the oak doors, all that. Very, very ominous place. Walking down the corridor, it felt like the pathway to school felt like an absolute. We felt like going from one country to another, but actually, I was only 2, so it was a ginnel. It was a ginnel between the school and the next house. It was literally the walkway at one side, because it was a terraced house, she says, and there was a walkway at the side. But it felt like a tunnel to me, and it felt like miles, because it had to go all the way down and all the way around to the school. And then at the back of the school, there were fields and annexes, and we were in the annex in the field because we were the preschool children. Now, In that school, I did geography and history and reading and writing, writing, arithmetic. We wandered about in straw boaters, an elastic around our neck, and we were ordered to walk in lines everywhere. We lined up in the playground. It wasn't really a playground. We lined up in the hallway, and we lined up to go onto the stage. I mean, everywhere in straw boaters, looking beautiful and pristine, with our pleated skirts and our straw boaters, waiting to be told the next instruction. The school was incredibly, I would say, ABA in their historical management of children with additional requirements. You will adhere to these rules, and that means that we'll know what to do with you, and you won't make squeaky noises or run around. I can remember the whistle blowing in the playground when I was 2, 5 times, until eventually she came and took me by the hand and made me stand next to her. So we were trained, literally, to respond. Great. That meant that by 5 I was adherent to all of those rules, and I was a very well behaved child. And then they put me in state school because my mum lost her job. My brother went to state school at the same time too, but he was 4 years older, so he didn't have to get there till he was 9. When I got there at just over 4, it was like a bear garden. That's what my mum used to call it. It's like a bear garden. I'm not really sure what that meant. I think she meant like in the zoo when there's bears and they're playing around. That's all I can think. Maybe if somebody knows what a bear garden is later, they'll tell me. Yeah, like a bear garden. Morning, Jew. And this classroom, literally, the children were, little Johnny was wiping his bogey on Jill in the corner. They were playing in the water. They were splashing it all over. The flooring wasn't safe. I mean, those children, there was a trip hazard. There were people with scissors. They were coming off the cutting table. You name it. You can imagine, guy. For me, it was like some horror story. For 3 years, I've been commandeered into the position where I lined up with my straw boater and certainly didn't move a muscle when the whistle went. I can't hear you. You're going to have to mute, my love. When the whistle went, I literally had to stand absolutely perfectly still like a statue. So when I got to state school, who did they think they were? I didn't know who I was, and I certainly didn't know what the hell the teacher was, and I didn't know what this was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how I was, and I didn't know how to behave. I knew I didn't want to be like that because I was horrified. In fact, I was disgusted. Now, interestingly, disgust is something that we learn. We don't get born disgusted. My middle child, who will hate me for telling anybody this, but there we are, I found him exploring his nappy when he was just a baby, when he could stand up in his cot, and he'd gone in and explored his nappy, and he'd wiped it everywhere. Over him, over his cot, he'd wrapped it around every single spindle, he'd got it in every crease, he'd pushed it into the corners of the window. I mean, he'd stood up, he'd wiped it all over the glass. He loved showing the neighbours what he'd found. And when I went in, he was having a lovely time. And he was not disgusted, not in the slightest. He was having a beautiful time. He also did the same with Sudocrem. He went into the back of the settee, because I used to put the Sudocrem in the nappy bag and the nappy bags, and I used to shove them behind the settee, because at that time I could actually crawl around on the floor. So I used to change their nappies on the floor, and he crawled around the back of the settee, opened up the Sudocrem and wiped that all over him too, and ate it. He enjoyed eating that. He was not disgusted. He wasn't even disgusted when he ate it. He just sat very happily with a white mouth, looking like he really found the prize. So yeah, he was not disgusted. We create disgust. We develop disgust in children, and I was disgusted. I was disgusted they were running around like, I don't know, idiots. There were scissors everywhere. I felt like it was just an absolute hazard. I didn't want to be there. I didn't, and I froze. Now, my teacher, Mrs. Naylor, I think that was her name. Might have been Naylor. That was one of my teachers. Might not have been her. Might have been Mrs. Cummings. It might have been Mrs. Cummings, actually. Anyway, that first teacher. She realised that me and Ruth, that was the girl that had come with me from that school, she'd been there 3 years too. We were the same age. I won't give her surname. She came to school at the same time. That teacher realised that we had no idea what to do with these children, and they had no idea what to do with us. For a start, I didn't even have to wear uniform. I felt like I was at home. It was very strange. And so she put us outside. That sounds weird, doesn't it? I know, they're rubbish, just put them outside. That's not true. She said, come with me. We have got something very, very special for you to do. And we were taken outside the classroom and given 2 easels. Now, I can remember hearing all the riotous noise going on in there and thinking, actually, I'd quite like to be messing about. I'd like that. I think it's not very fair that they get to mess about. I didn't know people were allowed to mess about. I'd quite like to mess about like that. I was listening and thinking, it sounds fun to mess about like that. But me and Ruth were outside and we were given something I'd never seen before in my life. I remember I was only 5, so I hadn't seen a great deal by then. So my shock wasn't that surprising. But I can remember the surprise now. I can remember seeing silver and gold cars. I remember thinking the sun's golden. I remember looking at churches and the golden eagle on the stand that the vicar used to talk at. Shiny golden eagle that later I used to clean because I went on church cleaning duty because that's what good children did, right? And I cleaned that golden eagle and he was golden. He was made of gold. He wasn't just gold plated, he was gold. And I really was fascinated with gold and silver and diamonds and anything shiny. I love shiny. I like shine bright like a diamond. I love diamonds and I don't like where they come from, but I love shiny things. Love shiny things. Love jewellery. Love platinum as a colour. So I was fascinated. And what did they bring me? Bring us? The paint that none of those naughty children could have. The paint that they didn't want to give to those 5-year-olds because they were too silly to know what to do with it. That's what they said to me. Now, how did that reinforce me not playing, eh? Too silly. You were being too silly, they were being, to have this paint. So we got the gold and the silver paint. And oh my Lord, I couldn't believe it was in front of me in a pot. I thought it was only in factories. I thought it was something that only everybody else got. Gold and silver paint. I've never seen gold and silver paint in the school that I went to, not even in the posh school I went to. We've never had gold and silver paint. But this gold and silver paint was ours and we had a pot each and I was allowed to paint a picture. Now, I don't know whether you remember this either, but I was given sugar paper, black sugar paper. And it was, for me, I looked and went, oh, they've given me the galaxy. Now, at the time, I didn't realise this on Saturday, but it was great because Matt Rowden came up and said, you're absolutely right, it's this. I said at the time, I don't remember when it was, but in that instance, I could see the Smash advert. Remember when Mash makes Smash? And there were aliens and they were made up of potato smashers and they were metal and they were like dome heads. They were made up of basically of kitchen equipment, aliens. And I can remember thinking when that paper was put in front of me, oh, I'm going to paint the universe. Oh no, I don't think I'm clever enough. I'm going to paint like the universe. No, I'm going to paint the universe into next week. I'm going to paint us into the future. But I said into next week. I had seen in Boots in 1975 a metallic silver sci-fi kind of futuristic hanging advertisement set of things, whatever they call it, theme of the into the 80s. Now, it was only 75, but people were already talking about the next decade in the 70s and the futuristic future focus. There were the irons, there were hair straighteners, there were hair curlers, there was tongs, there was all sorts of electronics. And we were all very excited about the fact that there were all these great shiny metal things around, including these aliens in the Smash advert. Turns out that Smash advert was 1973. My earliest memories were way back before that, but at 2, I remember the Smash advert, and I remembered it again when I was doing that painting. Now, what could I do at 5? Well, I'll be honest, I'm dyspraxic, so my ability to hand-eye coordinate was not early. It was not, because I have some physical disorders as well. My middle child, again, his early hand-eye coordination was incredible because I sat him in front of a computer at 4 months old on my knee, and he was typing and using the mouse and moving around and clicking before he was even 9 months old. People couldn't believe what they were watching, but he could control a screen because he was given that early hand-eye coordination connection. It took me a lot longer because I wasn't given a computer until a lot later, until 1981. So until I was 10. That was the first time I got to program a computer, was when I was 10. Nobody will let me touch one until then. But on this paper, I decided that I would use this paint in the only way that I knew how. I'd been learning something really important at that point. Now, in the school that I went to, I had to tie my shoelaces every day on a board, multiple times a day. I was taught to retie my shoelaces, and I used to be able to make 2 bows, 2 loops, 1 loop in one hand, 1 loop in the other, and then tie those loops together. Now, for those watching on other forms of social media, you can see my hands are incredibly flexible. The reason for that is because I'm hyperflexive. I've got a condition that means that my connective tissue is extra bendy. What that means is that my capacity with dyspraxia to coordinate is quite difficult. But what I could do was get 1 loop, get 1 loop, and then tie them in a knot. So it looked like I'd learned to tie my shoelaces. Now, I blagged that until I went to the next school. They honestly believed that I'd learned to tie my shoelaces. Nobody came and tried to pull the loose shoelace, because of course if you pull it, you can't undo it if you've tied it into a knot. But nobody ever came and pulled it to see if I'd done it properly. So I was able to go and tie it and show them every day, and they'll, oh, look at the progress she's made. But I couldn't really tie a shoelace. I couldn't really take a loop and wrap it around the other and pull it through, because I didn't have the dexterity. I didn't have the understanding. I didn't have the coordination. I was facading. Already, by 2, I was pretending to be normal because they were trying to make me so, make me like them. So in this painting, I thought, I'm going to do the other thing that I'm really good at now, because I had learned to do something that was a bit like the shoelaces with the 2 loops and tie them together. And that was a number 8. I could do a circle, believe me. I could draw round and round and round and round and round. And that drawing round and round and round and round and round and helped me so much by the time it came to those other letters and those other numbers. Because 8 was, again, a very similar thing to when I was trying to tie my shoelaces. Wrapping it round, sliding it up, tying it together. It didn't work for me. But I could draw circles. I draw a circle and then another one like a snowman. You know, when you roll a snowman and you make 1 ball and then you get the other in between the 2 of you, you lift that really heavy snow up and plonk it on top. Well, that's what I used to do to draw a number 8. I draw a circle and I draw another circle on top. That's okay, you think? Well, it's a bit like shoelaces, see? It looks okay. But actually, when you're trying to go to the next number or the next letter, or when you're trying to keep your pen on the page, it's not, because you've got to take it off. And every time you take your pen off the page, you slow yourself down. So I had to learn to draw a figure of 8. And I had practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced. And when I got this paint and I got the galaxy, and I realized that I was not capable at that point, and still aren't, to paint the galaxy, when all I wanted to do was find the aliens that were on the advert and find a life that wasn't mine somewhere on a different planet. I learned to draw the figure of 8. And I wanted to show my teacher I could do that. I could do all sorts of things, but one of the things I was really proud of were my 8s. And thinking about the Into the 80s advert in Boots, I'd seen the 7, My mum had taught me to draw a 7. It took 3 strokes because I had to cross it like a German 7. So there were 3 lines to do a German 7. I could do a 7. I didn't want to do 7s. Nobody wanted 7s. They wanted 8s. They wanted into the 80s. And I knew that this was going in the hall. And I knew it was going to be fairly futuristic. And I knew it was all about shiny and glittery. And I'm sure they were probably looking for baubles. That's not what they got. What they got was the figure of 8 in different sizes and shapes with circles in between it. In some places it said 80 and they were all on different angles. And in one part of the paper, there was an awful lot of paint. I decided I wanted a propensity of paint in that corner of different shapes. And the shapes were inside the shapes. And so there were circles within circles and figures of 8 with circles within them and 80s. And it was symbolic, right? And it was also abstract. And it was also way beyond my thinking years to be able to create something like that. And of course, all this was done in silence. And when it was done, they took it and it went into the hall. First time I'd ever used metallic paint. The first time I'd ever done something for the school. I was new to the school. And it went pride of place in the centre of the hall for the whole of the Christmas. And everybody talked about it, but not to me. Nobody ever talked to me about it. I can't even remember somebody saying, "What were you thinking?" They just said, "Isn't she a clever girl? Isn't she a clever girl?" I was othered before I was in mainstream school for long at all. They decided I was differently able, pretty much non-verbal, not really like to deal with the chaos and not really sure what to do when chaos happened. So I just stood still in case they came and got me. So who do I think I am? Well, I think I'm a child of the 80s, actually. I think I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s. I think I was born way too early to be neurodivergent and out loud and proud. I think I'm too early for people to understand that actually autism as a diagnosis isn't a dirty word. And ADHD isn't a better version of being neurodivergent. And who do I think I am? I think I'm different. I think I'm differently able. And I think that who we think we are is who we become. And I also believe that Imagineering is a skill that is born from not being where we want to be. I do think we all have a skill to be able to decide what our future looks like. And I decided at 5 that mine was already scientific, futuristic, and looking into the future. I already felt at that time that I knew there was a connection between us and those aliens. Now, I would call that the World Wide Web. I would call that AI. I would call that all of the shiny things I saw in Boots, the hair straighteners, the iron, the microwave. The microwave. I went to a microwave demonstration. I was flipping. It was like magic when we first saw a microwave. When I saw somebody bake a cake and it come out of a microwave that wasn't an oven, it was just a box with a light that went ping and out came a cooked cake. It was like the Smash advert. It was like something from the alien world. So I was already looking into the future at the age of 5, and that's because I believe that I'm neurodivergent, or not. I believe I am. It's because I believe it was because I was neurodivergent. But maybe all children feel like that. Maybe. But my experience was that who I think I am is who I thought I was because I told them I was going to. I said to Ruth at the time, "I'm going to paint us into next week," and she said, "What are you on about?" And I'd heard into next week somewhere, and I'd put it with what I was going to do. I'm going to talk about the future. I'm going to Imagineer where we're going. So who I think I am is who I think I am. I am who I think I am because who I believe I am is who I'm going to be. I think we are limited by the capacity to which we can Imagineer. If you can't imagine yourself out of this situation you're in, then think of another one. Think of one that's more relevant to you and more appropriate. If you don't like the job you're in, think about what you actually want to be doing. Because we have on average 4 careers a lifetime. It's probably more now. 4 careers a lifetime. So whatever you are today, you don't have to be tomorrow. And if you've got on a bandwagon and you thought, well, I've got 54 million qualifications in this now, I can't do it, anything else, you're wrong. I began as a nursery nurse, I became a teacher, and then went into special educational needs because I'll be honest, I prefer them to normal kids. Sorry, but I do. Just find them more grateful. I do. More grateful, more open to thinking outside the box, have a different perspective, not as just don't expect everything on a plate. I just find that disabled people, honestly, this sounds horrible, but not always, but in the majority, if you've gone through a bit of shit, then it makes you just, a little bit more humble sometimes. Not always, but in the main, I preferred working with SEN. I also prefer working with people that haven't quite got all their ducks in a row, because I've been discombobulated all my life. Literally, nothing's changed. And I keep feeling discombobulated. Even when I sort out all of my ducks in a row, I still have that feeling. And actually, it's a biological feeling. You can set that feeling straight with the different supplements that I now take. Because my neurodivergence means that I don't create things the same way as somebody with a different brain wiring. I don't make melatonin the same way. I don't make serotonin the same way. My hypothalamus is a different shape. My hippocampus is larger. My pituitary gland doesn't work the same. And my pineal gland doesn't either. So we don't hormone the same way. We don't express the same way. We don't learn the same way. We don't visualize the same way. But then I don't think anybody does. I think we're all individual. So who do I think I am? I think I'm me. When I was asked the question about who do I think I am, somebody said last week, which is what prompted this entire week's theme, who do you think you are? And I said, who do I think I am? Well, I think I'm a person. That's what I think. And then it got me to think, who do I think I am? Well, I think I'm somebody that's just trying to get through the same as everybody else. And then, who do I think I am? Well, I think I'm the product of everything I've ever seen and done and heard and been. And what am I? Am I the product of the education they gave me? Somewhat. And do I think it's positive? Actually, probably not. So who do I think I am? I think we are who we think we are. I think we can be who we want, given the parameters that we've got. But I honestly think that if you're in a bear garden, it's very difficult to find out what you want in amongst all that. Sometimes we have to go inside to get the quiet enough to be able to find out. A bit like being taken out of the classroom and being put at the easel to consider how I was going to paint us into next week. So thank you for being here. It's great to have everybody here. It's great to see those online. It's great to see the messages that I'm getting, even on StreamYard now. Can't believe how many people are live on StreamYard all at once. Didn't even know people could find me here. It's wonderful that you're here. It's great to see everybody in Clubhouse. I've been in Clubhouse 3 years. For those on social media, we're in Clubhouse Live at the moment. Clubhouse is a social audio media app, and actually I really like the space. I've been in a few of them, but I like the space it creates, so I'm going nowhere. I'm staying here on a Monday morning. We have been in MJ's house. Tonight we are in Inclusion at 7 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock I am on the third webinar that we are providing, and this evening it's all about what we do when we find ourselves to be neurodivergent and wanting to have children, or if you've had a neurodivergent child, or what happens actually with all of that. Who do we think we are? We're talking about the very beginning this evening. We're taking who do you think you are, who do I think I am, way back to genetics, and we're talking about some of the genetic happenings that happen in the brain differences and what that might mean for young people today. So it's going to be an interesting who do you think you are this evening. It's going to be who do you think you are as opposed to who do I think I am. This evening at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock on Clubhouse, and then 8 o'clock we'll be going on our webinar, which will be recorded. So if you want that link, come at 7 o'clock, we'll give you that link and you can be live on social media with us. And of course, this isn't just us wandering about on social media in gangs like some sort of playground bullies. No, that's not it. We're not like some cool group either, just hanging on the internet. We are a lived experience panel called Voice, and we are part of Inclusion. We are moving on to be providing speaking gigs and lived experience panel work for the Welsh Government and also for the English Government now. They've accepted us too. We've been born in Wales, born and bred in Wales, and then we've been TP'd at Hoover to England. That's how it feels. So so those gigs are starting to be places that we go all over. We're going to Edinburgh in June. We are in Blackwater Gallery on the 29th of March, and that is being filmed. What a beautiful, beautiful opportunity we have on the 29th, Good Friday. That is only, wow, it's a week and 4 days, and it's free. It's free to attend. You even get a free cup of coffee if you want one, or tea. And we have some amazing, amazing opportunities there, including to hear my story, which is a little more in depth than this morning, and also some products and goods and things that I use now to help my health. I have definitely found a way to be living in this body with multiple organ failure, having died over COVID. During COVID, I got double pneumonia and double pleurisy, and I was intubated for a number of weeks in York District. I've had to recover my health, and on the 29th I'm going to be telling you all about my story, how I've recovered my health, and how I've got to go back to university, retrain as a social worker, and create what looks to be heading towards £1 million business this year. So that said, it is 25 to 7, and I've only got 25 minutes, and there's already 4 people on the stage. I am very excited to hear from each of you, and it gives us a perfect amount of time to take us to the 7 o'clock mark, where I've got to run away to the local authority and do my job as a trainee social worker. Good morning, Jew. Who do you think you are? And how are you? You're back from hospital. You've had a visit to hospital, but you're back, aren't you? Are you there? Are you getting showered? Are you being dealt with? Can you unmute? Is your iPad on the floor?
No.
Or yes to the unmuting, right? Well done.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are then?
Well,
I'm going to have a coffee. That's what I'm having. Sorry.
I am a man with needs.
Multiple MS, aren't you? No, that's not called. It's called multiple. That's not what it's called. Multiple sclerosis.
Yes.
Progressive multiple sclerosis.
Indeed.
Yeah. You have needs. You hadn't met at the hospital, at least you've got some antibiotics.
Yeah. Loads of them.
And are you looking forward to, what do you think about this lived experience panel? Are you looking forward to the 29th? Are you looking forward to BASWA?
Of course I am. Yes.
People love hearing your story.
I like telling it.
Then if we put those two things together, I think that's what they call workfulness.
I wish I could talk a bit better, but I guess it's the talking that makes it interesting.
I hear you.
I try.
Thing is, Ju, you're in that transition. In fact, all of your life, the last 3 years, has been about transitioning, hasn't it? It's been about moving through, because you've moved through from being married to no longer being. You've moved through from having your own home, living with somebody else, to you're moving through to having your own home and living alone this time. You were working in an industry that you didn't like and didn't enjoy. You didn't really like the job, I don't think. And now you're moving through into an industry where actually I think you prefer the people. Maybe I'm being arrogant here, but I think maybe you prefer the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
And now you've moved through from that being non-disabled, which, I'm sorry you were born without disabilities, because it's not easy to then move into that. It isn't. To move through from non-disabled to disabled, I think, is very hard. I think it's also very difficult to be born with disabilities in this world, but I think the idea of being able and then disabled is really quite enormous. So you've moved through that and identify as a disabled person now, don't you?
I do. Well, I had no choice.
Yeah, you weren't really that keen on disabled people before that, were you? You thought they were a bit of a pain in the butt, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I tried to make time for them.
Yeah, that's it, innit? But can you hear that in that sentence? I tried to make time for them. Like, that is how we treat us. And sometimes how we treat each other. I think this government's doing a really great job of pitching disabled people against each other. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
They really are. They've not just gotten us and them now. Now they're causing squabbling amongst the people now. It's quite funny. So I think this othering is crazy, but I agree with you. The idea of I used to give them time is really prevalent. But actually, we just need to put you in the right space to do the right thing and get you back to work. That's my opinion, Ju.
I'll play that game.
I'm going to play that game. I want eye gaze. A lot of you talking about your earnings this morning because Access to Work came back. They want it tweaking. So we are tweaking your planning this morning and then it's going to go back out. But we're nearly there. I can't wait to send the invoice in for your eye gaze. I can't wait.
Can't wait to get it.
I can't wait to bloody get it. I can't wait till Access to Work get their arse into gear. How many years? There we go. Another one that's on the way through but gone through once and not quite there yet is our James. Thank you, Jim. I think who I think you are. I'll tell you what I think you are. I think you're resilient. I think you're determined. I think your time in the army, whichever bit you were in, throwing yourself out of planes, was imperative to get you to here. And I think that if you hadn't have done that, all of that, then it would be really hard to have progressive MS and be thrown in a care facility and asked to sort your own stuff out. I really do. I think everything you ever were has brought you to everything you are today. And that I think the army training was ready to meet me. It was so that we could go around the country together talking about our lived experience. So I think you just had to be in the army so you got tough enough that you could meet me and put up with my shite and the things I said. I'm very proud of you and I'm very grateful you listened to me and went to the hospital and went and got your antibiotics because I do nag you a little bit, don't I? Just a tiny bit. I do a bit of Mother Henning on him. James, I do that with you as well, unfortunately. I'm going to have to stop it. Can't do that as a trainee social worker. I've got to be a blank slate and not care.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do what I do. You're gonna have to be silent, shut up, and get a buckle in your wheels so you can't move anywhere.
That's what they've done to you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, they punctured me puncture-proof tyres, and even the German puncture-proof tyres have been punctured. So we're once again, but I'm still moving forward.
You are.
Realised that my exercise regime, I've found a couple of other really good movements I can do on the left-hand side. To get this degree of extra movement I want, I've not got enough movement on my left-hand side at the moment in the kind of upper quadrant. But it's more than it was because this time 2 months ago, I'd be about paddling to the gym now, ready for some heat. And boy, did I turn up the heat that day because I slipped on my side and ended up with the C4 and C5 cracked and very badly damaged, and a sever on the top C1, which at the thankfully has not caused too much neurological damage to me. I've got feelings everywhere and good reactions and movement, but just this top quarter, the 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, is a little bit not as good as it used to be, but it's heading back in that direction. I've set my goals. I'm just waiting to get the latest update when I have another CT scan just after our Easter little jaunt and meeting. I'm really looking forward to actually walking through the door at the art gallery, because it looked stunning from the outside that day we was there. So I'm really excited to just have a few coffees with everyone and see all the beautiful things that'll be in there, plus the beautiful people I'll be with. And new people that we'll meet.
We've got people coming from Aberystwyth.
Exciting times. I'm really looking forward to this year, and I finally bolted the bookshelf to the wall so it won't attack me, which is nice. I can this morning get the office corner really organised.
Good.
And I'm really excited to put the unicycle on top of it in such a way that it won't cause me any further injuries, because I won't be able to get on it for a bit. But I'm about 4 months away. I'm hopeful of getting on some type of bicycle, and with that, I'm going to look forward to moving back onto them, but keep moving forward. And I'm looking forward to where we go tonight, MJ, and I'll let you.
Thank you.
Move forward to all the beautiful people in the room, and have a lovely Monday and a great week.
I will. Thank you, James. And I just want to say that the fact that I'm sat here and I look back at this last 3 years, and I think if 3 years ago somebody had said James Lawrence will be part of inclusion and he'll be motoring forward to a new type of job where he listens to his heart and he speaks his truth and he moves forward with people that he cares about and who care about him in a place that isn't toxic, I'm not sure that I'd have thought we could have got here by now. And I know it's been a really difficult road on the way to this bit, and it was not what we expected. And that's the biggest curveball I think I've been thrown, apart from the one where I was intubated. I think yours was quite a big curveball for me. I was not expecting that one. But thank the Lord that you'd met who you'd met before that happened. All I can say is that, God is good. Whoever runs this gig, for you to have met the people that you needed to have met and made the applications you'd made on the back of your challenges that you'd had previously, and then we'd ended up like we have. I mean, you couldn't be somebody. I can't believe that we got to the point where you arrived in the physical disability world already prepared. That's what you call reishi mushroom, the mushroom of everlasting life, getting it on for you, because the world helps you prepare for becoming physically disabled before you became physically disabled. You did the pre-planning. You're a pre-planned disabled person. We can get you on the pre-plan. Come and spend a year with us if you have a mental health condition, and if anything else happens physically, you're already ready. It's so funny. But I'm grateful that you are where you are and where you were when it happened, because we'd have had an awful lot of applications to do if we hadn't done them all before. So yeah, your applications happened before you. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating, James. Who'd have known when you met us that would have been the case? But there we are. And I'm looking forward to giving you a big hug. Well, not a big one. I'll be very gentle, not like I usually am. On the 29th of March, you'll have to tell me to be steady, because you know what I'm like. When I haven't seen people for a while, I'm afraid it's a bit like bear guard. I'm a bear.
I'll just attack you from the right side.
Yeah, come round that side. We'll have to manoeuvre. It'll be a cuddling manoeuvre. We'll take it from the right side. This one, MJ. Yeah, with me. It's like me and Jew cuddling. That has to be 3-point turn where I have to reverse alongside him. Yeah. Backwards. I have to reverse backwards to him, behind him, so our wheelchairs are on the side, and then lift my arm up so that we can cuddle. It's a manoeuvre. It's a beautiful manoeuvre we're so good at now. We shall learn a manoeuvre for James. All to get a cuddle. Thank you, James. I'm excited. I'm going to see you in like 11 days. Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. So, good morning, Clive. Who do you think you are?
Good morning. Well, I don't talk much about who I am in some respects.
I
I was born into a very wealthy and connected family, and I was given some of the best tutelage. No bear gardens for me. I was given personal tutelage, and was motivated to find my place in the world, and I was very lucky in that respect. Actually, that's all rubbish. But would it have been different had that been the case? You know, like these connections that we have given to us sometimes, but again, having to fight for stuff is also part of who we are. And I think, you know, I come from a mum who's quite a worrier, a dad who's quite pragmatic, but also got his quirks. And, you know, we become who we are through our environment, I think. And but again, we have choices in that all along the route. And I think, you know, for me, my mum had a keen interest in sort of she was a counsellor, and she always was interested in people, and that's why I chose to do psychology at university and such. And I think, you know, the fact that I kind of looked at psychology and I felt that they weren't trying to really help people. It seemed like they were trying to sort of like bolt the door after the horse had bolted. And, you know, I mean, psychology has been used against us more than it has been for us, I think, you know, through advertising and media and the news and having us live in fear and such. And that's given me a bit of a drive to create a different view on psychology for myself. But again, it doesn't fit into the world yet. And that's a struggle. But again, you know, perhaps we need a bit of struggle in our lives. We need something to overcome. We need the challenge. It doesn't make a good story if it's all easy going. And, you know, I think, yeah, I am definitely a product of my environment. I remember watching the news when I was a kid, seeing the miners' strikes and seeing the struggle around me, and, you know, then working in kids' residential care and seeing all that struggle and not really seeing anyone help it particularly. And then you've got all the psychology that says, oh, we know the answers and stuff, but we're not going to share unless you pay us £100 an hour and such. And yeah, I think that has kind of had a big impact on me. And it has left me a little bit lost at times, not knowing quite what to do with that. But we do find ways, and you know, it is up to us how we solve those problems and how we find our place in the world and how we actually create it. But you know, finding the right people, finding the right connections, finding the way that actually moves you forward and leaves you feeling like you're completing your kind of journey. I always remember watching kind of like Quantum Leap, and you had Sam Beckett who, you know, had to complete certain things to move forward in his life, and it's quite a good analogy, really. You know, I think we all have these drives and things that we're trying to solve and resolve, and we're just trying to move forwards, and that can be a blessing or a curse. It's definitely a bit more of a curse if you don't actually find the ways forward and you keep going around in circles, which I have been guilty of for many years. But if you do find the ways forward and you can take those steps in small steps that actually do move you forwards, then that's definitely helps you become the person that you want to become. And yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. So I'll just leave it there for today. But yeah, just we just have to work out what we value, and then move towards it somehow. You know, like the kind of Patty Dabrowski video of, you know, what do you want to be and how would you get there? And I like the idea that, you know, if you do really clearly envisage where you want to get to, and then kind of short circuit your brain and just take out the critical thinking side and think, well, how would I get there? Then that's probably a good place to start. You know, we do need to have that vision, and we do need to sort of start activating things that move us towards it. So yeah, there you go. That's what I shared this morning.
Thank you, Clive. Patty Dabrowski, Matt Rowden, who's in the audience today, he put a message in our group about drawing his future last night, about I'll be back with my goals for the week, and it reminded me to go and redraw my future now. Talking of this, for anyone that doesn't know it, Patty Dabrowski is a friend of Pete Cohen, and Pete Cohen is my coach. Pete Cohen talks about his future self. Now, it turns out when you look at Pete's 30-day program that actually, as we all are, who do we think we are? We are a combination of everybody we've ever met. And Pete's program is a combination of everybody who's ever met. And he's a combination of everybody who's ever met. So his program is the lineage that he had the opportunity to have, which was Patty and some other people, lots of other people. If you look at things that he says, you know, you can take them back to people like Jim Rohn. You can take them back to a number of people that I've now studied. That is his lineage. And we all come from a certain lineage, whether that's your mum as a counsellor who then prompted you to go into psychology. And actually, my middle one, we're back to my middle one all morning this morning. They must be absolutely prevalently important today, because they wanted to become a psychologist and said to me, I'm going to beat you and I'm going to get my PhD before you. And I said, I hope you do. Please do. Please go and get whatever it is you want from wherever you want. And please, I would love you to win. However way you feel it is, go get it. And he said, yeah, I'm going to get a PhD in psychology before you do. Now, they don't have a PhD in psychology yet, and they might never do. And neither have I. So the fact that they still haven't achieved that, I think, is fantastic, because I still haven't either. I began my PhD, got 3/4 of the way through it with Liverpool, and decided I couldn't finish it and actually produce it. I can't put it out into the world without the element of health and social care there, which is why one of the reasons, crazy as it sounds, that I've gone back for my social work degree, but it's also for inclusion. So we are who we say we are, but we are who we think we are, and we're who we think we want to be from what we've designed. And what I'm going to do later is draw my future again. When I used that method, I am now sitting literally in the office I drew. In the layout, the setup, the desking, the amount of machines, the screens, the whole thing. Why? Because I had a clear idea in my mind about what I wanted the setup to be like. Literally, even to where I have drawn the Rodecaster Pro and where the screen is. Everything is where it was meant to be, because I envisaged it, I drew it, I scribed it, I used my hand, my dysgraphic, but my hand with my circles and my 8s and my drawings, which are very, very childlike. It doesn't matter how they look, because in my mind, I knew I wanted a separate office with this desking and these computers, so I could sit in a space that was separate to the rest of my house. And on Sunday, the gentleman is already booked to come and put the shelves behind me, and the items for the shelves I've been gathering for the last 2 years are in the bags ready. That's because I envisaged perfectly where I was going to be sitting. I also envisaged the 29th of March, in that I knew that by this year, at this summer, I would have all of the Organo products ready for me to share with people, and I would have trialed them all, tested them all, know which ones work for me, and know which ones I can recommend to other people and for what. So I've been 2 years studying these products. I've studied another number of other things as well. I'm yet to talk about those. But we are who we say we are because we envisage our future. And I believe that when I did those 8s and those zeros, and I was feeding my way into the 80s in 1975, that I already was an Imagineer expert. I was already an expert in Imagineering. I could already see that. And I believe that you're the same, Clive. I just think that I'm 10 years ahead of my time. I always have been. What I'm spouting now, they'll be talking sensibly about it in 10 years' time. The things I'm talking about, things like on Friday, I went to somewhere that works with learning disabled individuals. When I spoke to their CEO, I explained, it was a week before Friday, actually, week last Friday. I said that the problem is that we're not allowing individuals to have relationships. And he said, I was only saying that to commissioners last week. I said, well, I've been saying it for the last 15 years, and I think we're just about having those conversations. I'm grateful those conversations are starting to be had around the table. I've been waiting since I was in my teens. So things are a long time coming. But, everything comes to he who waits. It's just not true. Everything does come round eventually. But I don't think everything comes to he who waits. I think we have to Imagineer, plan, and then progressively take tiny steps. Every item that I bought for these shelves behind me was found somewhere at some point when I was not looking for the things on that shelf. One of them is a Barbie called Chelsea, who's black and in a wheelchair. I mean, I'm not being funny, but it's very unusual for me to see a black person in a wheelchair, let alone a black doll Barbie in a wheelchair, or even a wheelchair. It's unusual. I've got a black Barbie in a wheelchair that's going to go on my shelf behind. Those kinds of things that I've discovered that I can now put behind me and use as talking took 2 years of gathering because they were the things that I knew I would want to talk pertinently about in the future. So yeah, a clear idea, absolutely. But I also think the other adage works, which is if you throw enough eggs against the wall, Clive, some will stick. And so I think that as much as I'm known for my propensity of things that I do, what that means is that I trial a number of things, and out of it comes the alchemy of the thing that sticks. Like Monday morning, Monday night, Saturday morning, doing it on StreamYard, doing it on Clubhouse, doing it on LinkedIn, finding my way in StreamYard to book. It's a way of going through the mess in the middle. And I believe the mess in the middle is absolutely where we all need to learn to be and celebrate, right? And with only a minute to go, and I know you've got to go, but I'm going to let you speak. Sorry, Alexia and Andrew. I feel like I leave you there, and then Sharon's left on her own. I'll be really quick. Alexia, my love, you're in the mess in the middle, aren't you? You're at university. That's a mess.
Yeah, I've been in the mess in the middle at home this morning as well, because my little friend has had a really bad accident this morning.
Oh no!
Yes, bless her. She not only weed, she pooed. She's had it from all directions. Bless her.
Oh, poor baby.
She's very subdued this morning, which is not her. So I've washed the floor. I've just cleaned it.
Oh, well, at least
But I
it's
still
done.
got my dog out on time.
Of course. Got my vlog out on time, even though the dog's on a poorly morning.
Yeah. Well, you've got to do these things, you know.
You have. So, have you got time to tell me who you think you are, or have you got to run away to our Sharon? Because we are at 7,
No,
and I
I've
understand.
got time to tell you, because sometimes Sharon is late anyway.
Oh.
Or here, bless her. Me, I'm a confused human, because when I grew up, disability didn't exist. They were just shut away and hidden.
Yeah.
You didn't do those things. You weren't there. You said it. You had to be normal. What is normal? There isn't a true normal. It's fascinating working with animals, because I've watched this little dog change. I've watched her go from fearful of everything to come fly at me and land on her lap, which is also a thing that happens with children when they become secure. They go the other way. They just literally fly at you and want you with cuddles.
Yeah, that's
And-
true.
and-
Oh, Mr. Ming, good morning. Sorry.
Good morning, Mr. Ming. And it's interesting. Life is interesting. What you said about at least 4 jobs, I think I've done more than 4. I was a nurse. I worked in the family business. I run my own business. I worked on a farm. I worked with problem animals. I'm now at university in my 2nd year doing a degree. Oh, wow. Where do we go from there? I would say keep an open mind, because you never know where that journey is going to take you. My walking has deteriorated really badly, but I was getting distressed because I wasn't going out and cleaning the streets. So I just decided I've got to see how far I could push that leg. Within sensible reason.
Good.
Yeah. And tomorrow there's a meeting in March, because I'm now, makes me smile. I'm actually working for Age UK, and I stay in contact with somebody who's got family right round next door almost, but they feel lonely.
Yeah.
I find it a difficult one to understand for me, but we're all different. She's a lovely lady. We've got a lot in common. Trying to put 2 people together that can be comfortable and have a conversation like that, because you're only allowed to give your name, for safety reasons, because it's a phone conversation. They're not allowed access to your phone number for your safety, just in case they are somebody who they say they're not.
Yeah, of course.
But tomorrow they've got a coffee meeting in the next town. Well, I need to know whether I can actually manage to get this fold-away scooter over there, even with a taxi. Because if I can't, then I've really got a problem. But that doesn't mean that life stops. It means you find another way of doing it.
Exactly.
Which is what we do all through life, is find another way of doing it.
It is.
I can't work at the same speed I could at 20 at the age I am now. I don't like it, but there's no way I can do it. And I surprised myself this weekend. I've often talked about this with you, not being a sleeper. And I've been looking at what I've been doing. That's partly talking to Sharon and other things I've been doing. And this weekend, I actually slept. I actually took time off and I actually slept. I woke up at 4 and I literally turned over, and when Marie stayed with me, I said, how can you do that? How can you turn over and go back to sleep? I didn't get up till 6:20 on Saturday.
Good.
Or Sunday. I felt guilty because I had so much to do.
Well, you needed to rest. I had 12 hours on Friday night. I went to bed at 6:30. I went to bed at 6:30. No, it wasn't 12 hours. It was 10. So I went to bed at less. I went to bed at 6:30 and I got up at 4. But I was up at 6 on Friday night. I was up at 7 yesterday.
Yeah.
Sleep is good.
And I actually feel better for doing it.
Indeed.
So I think sometimes, the Organo is brilliant. It works well. But we also, as you said, need to look at what we're doing with our own body. We can't reach and help others if we're not leading by example, which is exactly what the Earth Healer is leading by example.
You do that, Alexia.
Back to doing the streets regularly, 99% of what I'm picking up is cigarette ends. But thanks to Daniel, I know what some of the car parts are now called with building mobility scooters. And there was 2 guys on Saturday who were working on their cars and smoking cigarette ends and throwing them down on the pavement. And they'd changed 2 of the filters that go in your car, which go between a lot of your joints. They what they call them has gone out of my head. I can see the word but can't say it. Gasket.
Yeah.
Gasket, basically. They can be metal, but nearly always they're rubber or plastic. And they're the seal between your oil filters and various other filters. And these had obviously gone. So when they changed them, they just threw them down on the road with cigarette ends. So that's partly what my blog is about. There's a picture of a child, and the child looks like it's purely by accident, but it looks like it's got legs made out of cigarette ends. And in the bottom is this ring, and this ring is what a gasket looks like. But if that's missing or that's not working in your van, your van won't run properly.
No.
Because that's the thing that seals it. So we're building these little seals all the time.
We are. That's what they're for. That's a fantastic way of putting it. I'm aware it's 7:05 and Andrew's here and he wants to go to Sharon's room. So good morning. Thank you, Alexia. I'm aware of time and I've got to go to work too. So Andrew, my love, I'm sorry to have, last but not least, as always, good morning. And good morning, Sharon. Nice to see you in the audience.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And I would just like to say it's been lovely listening to everyone because I haven't been to this room in a while because my alarm clock was set on the wrong setting. So I've now sorted that all out. But for me, I like to think of myself as an evolving work in progress and thinking about the good things that have happened to me and also the bad and looking to move forward. So, just doing things that will please me and also helping other people.
Nice.
I like to think that we need to kind of remain a strength-focused approach. And, one day I will find a way to do this other course that I have seen, but at the moment DSA are preventing it. But, not DSA, student finance, but, the rules may change. I can wait for now, because obviously once we've had the election, things may change again anyway. And it's a lovely day. And obviously Leo and I celebrated 2.5 years yesterday of being together. So I'm just wishing everyone a lovely day. And I have a dyspraxia meet with Professor Randy Kirby tonight at 6:30. I don't know what time it finishes, but she normally does about an hour when she comes to another group. So hopefully I'll see you all later at 8 o'clock. If not, I will see you again next week.
You will. Thank you, Andrew, and enjoy going to Sharon's room. You are a work in progress. We all are. And I think that brings me nicely to the close of this room. We've been talking about who we think we are, and we've said that who we think we are is who we are, and we are because of what we plan. And Clive talked about the fact that it's really difficult to work our way through that mess in the middle and find out what it is that we want to do, especially when things haven't really been sold to us the way that we thought they were going to be. You know, maybe policemen aren't everything we thought they were. Maybe solicitors don't do everything that we thought they did. Maybe workfulness isn't all that they're cracked up to, and perhaps university wasn't the bag that you thought it was. Maybe you didn't think the university taught you the things that you needed for the job that you're going to do. I'll be honest, I think who I think I am is who I'm going to be, but that's only because of the things I've learned. We talked about the fact that we're all a product of the people we know and the things that we've done. And I've had over those 4 careers that we talked about people on average having. I'm a teacher, a SENDCO, a psychotherapist, a nursery nurse, and now a trainee social worker. I've been at all, like in all those areas, learning how disabled people work in the world because I am one. I don't know all the answers, but I know a fair few of them, and I certainly know a road to go on. So if you have a disability, or you know somebody that has a disability, or you feel that you don't know what the world's like, particularly if, like James, you only had a mental health challenge and not a physical one. He did. He came to us. We helped him. We got him on the right road. Now, things have not got easy for James. He broke his neck, but thankfully, he already had in place those things that were necessary for somebody who had broken their neck. His benefits, his support, his help, his route, his knowledge, his understanding of the way through to stay workful in his position. Jew is in a care facility for the elderly. He's 53, he's about to be on Inclusion's Voice Lived Experience panel, travelling around the country to tell his story. Alexia was born with polio. She has tunnel vision, literally, and finds it incredibly difficult to look at a screen. But with the screen magnifier, with voice talk, I could say via voice, and that's about 20 years old. With speech to text, I'm going to use a brand, speech to text, and with an assistant, she has now produced 3 books in the time that I've known her. And when I met her, she'd produced 1. She's now stage speaking. She's traveling around, and she is part of the lived experience panel called Voice That's in Inclusion. Andrew is somebody I have known a number of years. Andrew now has a master's degree in autism. He's a specialist SPLD tutor, a dyslexia tutor, and a multiple graduate. He's autistic like me, and Andrew's also dyslexic and dyspraxic. And he works full time. If you feel that disability has befallen you, as opposed to it's an industry that you are now part of, or an organisational structure that you now need to understand, honestly, then come along. 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whichever, 6 o'clock, all the times. 6 o'clock on a Monday morning, 7 o'clock on a Monday night. We're in Inclusion on Monday night. And then at 8 o'clock, we have a webinar. If you want the link to that webinar, which is free at the current time, and believe me, it's gold dust, come along at 7 o'clock and grab that link from myself or Christian Burton or whoever else is there, because that link will be bandied about in the chat. And then at 8, you can come along and you can give me questions and answers about some of the things I'm going to be talking about. And what we're talking about tonight is not a comfortable subject, all right? Who do I think I am? I think I'm a person with the same rights as anybody else in the world, but not all those people have the same rights as me. So I'm going to be touching on things like, at the moment in the UK, if you have Down syndrome and you become pregnant, then you will be sterilised. If you have Down syndrome and you want to get pregnant, then you will be told you can't, or they will sterilise you. I know a gentleman called Chris Foster. He has been in Inclusion. He is in the top 100 of disabled people as far as awareness is concerned. He works with some major banks. He's just been adopted. He's just been adopted by the Women's Pay Network organisation for the world. He's on their panel, and he has Down syndrome. Now, I personally think that Chris Foster should absolutely be allowed to be a father, but he's not legally in this country. His baby would be killed. His wife person would be sterilised. and if she hadn't got sterilised after the baby had been born, then she would be found to be put to court to be sterilised so that didn't happen again. And that happens in this country. It sounds a bit barbaric, but it is. I'm not saying that everybody should ever have babies. I'm just saying that I think we need to be clear about if we are removing a race of people, why we're doing it and what the justification is. And I'm not sure that Down syndrome is a justification. I think it should be about capacity to manage, a capacity to care, and the person, the individual, just like all of us. So who do we think we are? I think I'm a person, is where I came back to it. And we're going to be talking about human rights, who we think we are, and what happens when those human rights might be usurped, belittled, sidelined, marginalised, or not taken very seriously tonight at 8 o'clock. And if you want to come and hear a rehash of who do I think I am, who do you think you are, who are we, then that's going to be happening between 7 and 8, and then we're going to move on to the very serious stuff at 8 o'clock, which will be on record and will be then out there for the world. If you don't know where we are yet, go and look at my YouTube channel. I'm going to put some links next time. I need my YouTube channel upping. We've got shorts going out, we've got longs going out, we've got information that people need, how to get their welfare benefits, what the hell to do if you're genetically, challenged, if you are being stopped from your human rights. All those things are really important for people to understand. How to get to work, what to do if your employer won't do anything when you suddenly find you've got progressive MS, you fall down in the toilet, and then they want you to stay at home on sick for a year, age you. All those things people need to know about, and they need to know what to do when the shit hits the fan, pardon my French. But if you just become suddenly disabled, like James breaking his neck, and you don't know what to do, believe me, you want to know. And if you don't know why you want to know that you need to know what to do, come along at 7 o'clock. James will be on that panel with me, and he'll be able to share with you the human rights issues that he's faced. So can you. I think everybody here can explain to you how these services and goods and provisions need to be navigated by an expert, with you. Because if you go in it alone, then I believe that you are not going to go very far. I think you go fair enough on your own, you'll get a fair way. But if we go together, we just go further. We're longer, stronger, better together. We are better together. Why? Because we're playing a good game. And I'm telling you now, it is a game. Unfortunately, sometimes it can be quite a horrendous game. But as long as you know the rules and you know how to play them, and you've got people alongside you to cheer you along, we can't lose. So if you've been great, like I have here today in MJ's house, and you want to be even greater at 7 o'clock tonight, come along. I am going now. I'm going to go to work because I'm a trainee social worker. I better go and save some forms from not being completed. That's pretty much what a social worker is these days. It's a form filler. I'm kidding. There's loads more they do, but there's an awful lot of paperwork. They reckon 80% of social work is paperwork. I'm not sure that's the right percentage, and I intend to change it. Have an absolutely fantabulous week. On this Monday, the 18th of March, we are well into spring, and I am excited because there's a spring in my step. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.